Story tonight in the United Kingdom. The deadline has now passed for members of the governing Conservative Party to put their names forward for its leadership contest. The winner of that contest will become the country's Prime Minister as Theresa May steps down. Over the weekend, it emerged that 8 out of the current 10 candidates have taken drugs that are illegal in the UK. Holly Hudson's our correspondent in the UK. She joins us from London. Holly, good evening to you. So the deadline to enter this contest ending at 6 p.m. South African time. Have we seen any last-minute changes to who's in this competition?
Yes, well, as you said, the deadline has now passed. The race has officially begun, and the final list includes a real mix of current and former cabinet members and former Remainers and staunch Brexiteers. As you also mentioned there, 8 of the 10 have taken Class A drugs, and we heard from Michael Gove today, the latest to have his leadership contender race hampered by the revelation that he took cocaine during his time as a journalist. Him today trying to deflect away from those revelations and to try and frame his leadership contest in a very much a different light, taking aim at Boris Johnson, still very much the front runner in this race. He has the most support of MPs and Conservative Party members, and they of course are the ones that will later this month decide who the next leader of the Tory party will be and the next Prime Minister of the UK.
You talk about Boris Johnson. The smart money still seems to be on him as the new leader of the Conservative Party and the new Prime Minister. What kind of Prime Minister would he be? He has a very difficult image outside Britain.
Yes, he does, and that's something, again, that many of the candidates that we've heard, 10 candidates that have made the shortlist on the first ballot have taken aim at Boris Johnson to try and sort of hamper his leading the way, very much so. And what they're saying is that, we need a serious leader. These are serious times. This is sort of empty rhetoric from Boris Johnson, really trying to push that side of him away in that sense. And Jeremy Hunt today, the Foreign Secretary, his leadership bid officially started and had a surprise backing from Amber Rudd and Penny Mordaunt, the Defence Secretary, which will boost his leadership bid with the Brexiteers, with the Eurosceptics. Amber Rudd saying that, Jeremy Hunt will be somebody that can actually relate and negotiate with the EU. He's been a negotiator all his life, insinuating that that's something that Boris Johnson just won't be able to do because of how he's viewed by the European Union.
The dominant issue in Britain, obviously, still Brexit, likely to be for some time, and whether Britain should leave the European Union without a deal, a no-deal Brexit. How different are the views of the different candidates on this? The Conservative Party, of course, has pretty much been split on this issue for a generation.
The candidates are all completely split. It's a real mix. Interestingly, just before the final list was announced, we saw Sam Gyimah, the only contender who was actually supporting a referendum, backed out because he didn't have enough support. You need the support of at least 8 MPs to officially be nominated for the leadership race. In terms of the others, we've got, as I said, a real mix of current and former cabinet members. The former Brexit Secretary, Dominic Raab, perhaps the biggest contender to Boris Johnson on the Eurosceptic side, him describing himself today at his leadership bid, when he launched his official leadership bid, as the Brexiteer you can trust, going as far to say that he would prorogue Parliament, end Parliament, in order to make sure that we leave on the 31st of October. The same message being conveyed by Esther McVeigh. And of course, Boris Johnson has already insinuated that we should be leaving on 31st of October with or without a deal. That policy very much criticised and taken aim at today by Michael Gove, the Environment Secretary, and Jeremy Hunt, who said that that would cause a general election and essentially annihilate the Tory party. So sort of pleading to the Conservative Party members there not to support Boris Johnson, in the sense that he would hand over the keys to the opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn, as there would be no choice but to hold a general election.
And the issue of drug use by these candidates, is this seen as important by voters in your country?
It's definitely hampered Michael Gove's official leadership launch here today, and it has been a sort of ongoing theme throughout this. Rory Stewart, the International Development Secretary, admitting that he smoked opium Jeremy Hunt and Andrea Leadsom say they've smoked weed. But many of the other MPs saying that, you know, this shouldn't necessarily, these revelations shouldn't hamper people's leadership bids. It depends on how they framed it. Boris Johnson criticised for perhaps joking about taking cocaine when he was at university. Many applauding Michael Gove for actually coming forward and apologising, saying he knows that this is a crime, and saying that, you know, he has other policies and other things that he wants to move forward and focus on, that they were young and this shouldn't be considered in terms of their actual leadership contest. But there's no doubt that such revelations are going to stick in the minds of voters.
Holly Hudson, thank you very much indeed. Our correspondent in London tonight with the latest on that story.